Hey, this is Althraniir, youtube.com/Alpha4Gaming, and today I'm going to be talking to you about scenarios, which is a new feature in Mists of Pandaria. I think probably the most unclear new feature. I don't know. When it came to pet battles, I think everyone immediately was like, "Oh, cool, Pokemon," but scenarios, they're like, okay, so small dungeons for 3 people with no role requirements and way more guidedness. Okay. The thing that I would say is, even though you go into them via the dungeon finder, I wouldn't really compare them much to dungeons. I'd actually compare them more to group quests, in that they're more about just having to have sheer manpower than actual skill. It's kind of a fun little romp when you go through these. It's got multiple stages, as you can see on the right side there, under the objectives tabs. They're very heavily story driven. This one I didn't feel was super story driven though. I mean, granted, you had to help this NPC with her brew and then bringing it, you'll see. But like, compared to the Althraniir one that I've read about, I haven't actually done that one. It's not up for testing right now. Only this one and 2 other brew-related ones were up for testing when I went to go try out scenarios, I think yesterday. And they just didn't seem very story-centric. I mean, there was a little story to them, but I didn't feel like they were connected to an overarching story in any way. Maybe that's just the ones I tested. I know Althraniir is much more connected to overarching stories. Now here we have to defend her brew by cooling it dousing it whenever it gets caught on fire, and also we have to defend it from the attacking lizard people. They have a name, but I forgot it. Anyways, you'll notice that we have no healer, but she puts down pools of healing on the ground that none of my group members utilize, which is cool. At least not the bear dude, who's really low on health. He's actually a cat, but he keeps going bear for funsies. Anyways, they're very short, and I think you'll get a sense of this by the end of this video, even though I do chop it up a little bit for brevity's sake. The whole thing, all said and done, took me about 10 minutes to complete. Very short little things, which is why I think they're more like quests than dungeons. Dungeons take significantly longer than this. Group quests are about that. However, this is a lot more fun, I feel, than the old group quests, because they feel more dynamic. That being said, since they are being balanced for 3 players of any spec, they seem really easy, like really easy. And I understand if they make them any harder, then there will be spec requirements, like you're gonna need a healer or a tank or something like that to get through them. And so they can't make them too hard, or you're gonna have roll stacking, and that's not what Blizzard wants. They want you to go in with whoever you want to take and raffle stomp them. I mean, they're interesting, but the thing I'm worried about is, since they're supposed to be story driven, are they really gonna be fun after the first maybe 2 times you do it, even maybe just the first time, depending on which one you're doing. I just don't know. I do like that the story is intertwined with action consistently. You're not watching a cutscene a la Culling of Stratholme, at least from the ones I've done. I don't know whether it's true for all of them. You're always involved in the actions. So I guess it will probably be more friendly to repeated playthroughs in that regard. However, I do think that easy difficulty will come into play for certain players, especially ones that are seeking more of a challenge, like the hardcore raiders. They might not appreciate this system all that much. Granted, I don't think that's really who Blizzard's targeting with this. I think this is more for players that are less hardcore, I guess you could say. And so I think it's fine that the difficulty is lower, and I'm just continuing to lead this lady through this mountain pass. But I think the interesting thing here is not necessarily the scenarios that are going to launch, although I know some of them are really cool. at least from what I've read. But the system itself that's been put in place, I think, will lend itself to, if used properly, that is, because, you know, Blizzard always uses their systems properly, / roll eyes, lends itself to some interesting possibilities. I think if Blizzard put their mind to it, using the system with how dynamic it feels could put out some really fun things. They could even possibly make it for more players and use similar systems. Like, I don't know. The possibilities are pretty massive. I think the main thing is the dynamic event system that they put in and how smoothly it appears to work. Regardless of how simple this particular scenario is. It seems to function very smoothly, and that, I think, is its promise. And here I get hit by a giant spike like a pro. Yeah! Anyways. Which I think Blizzard really did need to put into the game, because at this point they're getting competition whose entire leveling experience is its dynamic events, which is the new competition coming up later this month, actually, at the same time the pre-patch for Pandaria is launching roughly, in the form of Guild Wars 2, which is an astoundingly good game, and it's free to play. Well, buy to play. It's free to play after you buy it. Which I think is the #1 thing that Blizzard's gonna have to worry about. So anyway, that's just my take on some of what's going on in the MMO market right now. I might be completely off, and Guild Wars might be a flop. I hope it's not, because it looks fun. Anyways, yeah, so this is the end. There's a boss. In all scenarios at the end, I believe there's a boss. And he's going to be going down here shortly. Fairly easy, and there we go. That's the scenario that I was doing here. That I forgot the name of again. Anyways, that's my video. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.